Imagine beating world chess champions without knowing any chess opening. Imagine being the strongest chess player in the world without ever studying chess. I'm not talking about an AI chess engine. Let's go back to the 20th century. I'm talking about a servant who worked for a British lord in India, introducing the pure genius, Mir Sultan Khan. He never learned chess. He doesn't know how to read or write. He only knew the Indian rules of chess, which is different from what you play. But his master brought him to England and made him play the British Chess Championship. Sultan Khan destroyed world champions to win the whole event. Then he went back home. Who's this mysterious man? Most importantly, how did he do it? And why am I telling you all of this? Because I found out that he has been doing something different. His chess style is totally different from others. His thinking of chess is on a different level. He made his own strategies. So can we learn his chess style? Can we get deep into his mind? The answer is yes. I've studied his way of chess A to Z meticulously and crafted an arsenal of his strategies. I'm going to unfold all of his mysteries one by one. In the end of this video, you won't look at chess the same way. Before we get into his mind-blowing games against greatest players, we need to learn his mystery chess style. His main plan is very simple. Build a strong pawn structure. Destroy their pawn structure to create weaknesses. Clear up the diagonals to snipe the weak pawns on the king side. Open up their king side to create an attack. And the last one is unexpected. Try to keep the king in the middle without castling. Now I know this sounds very simple and easy to do, but it's not the same when you are playing. Because your opponent is not going to let you do whatever you want. But here's the catch. Sultan Khan's brain was able to oversmart the opponent and get everything done. So let's see how Sultan Khan do exactly that on the board. First of all, Sultan Khan doesn't play any openings, because he never learned them. He starts with d4 and knight f3 most of the time. Then he just develops pieces normally. He plays e3 and also f4 if possible. And this is called the stone wall structure. But you don't get to play this every single time. Also, the king must be safe if you play f4. Otherwise, this could be a big weakness. So here, if you ask anyone about this position of the white, they will tell you this is bad. And that's right, because you are not really fighting for the center. None of these pieces have gone to the middle of the board. They are not attacking anything. They are not putting pressure on the black pieces. So don't just throw your pieces like this until you are a secret genius like Mir Sultan Khan. Instead, fight for the center. Bring your pieces to the middle. But you need to focus on creating a strong pawn structure that's hard to break. Could be like this or this. And don't push any other pawns without a good reason. Also remember, the plan to build a good pawn structure could be different from game to game, depending on how the game goes on. For an example, here we can see black is trying to put their bishop here. So we play c4 trying to block the bishop. Now you have to wait and see what they are going to do with their pawns. Here they play d5, our knight is also attacking this pawn. So when we take, they have to take back with the pawn and now their bishop is blocked. If they take with the bishop, we are very happy to trade our knight for it. Then we play e3 and again we have a strong pawn structure. But if we play e4 in this position, you can't have that beautiful pawn structure we had before. Now let's look at how to damage their pawn structure. If you wonder why I want to do that, the main reason is we can target their weak pawns and put pressure on them. So they have to defend it. It makes them busy. It makes it harder to move their pieces around. Normally players trade bishops for the knight when they can damage the pawn structure. But Mir Sultan Khan isn't a big fan of it. He tries to keep his bishops as long as he can. We will see why when we talk about attacking. This man literally forced them to push their pawns and weaken their own position. You can do this too whenever you see an opportunity. Here Sultan Khan would give a check to make them push the pawn. But let's say they had a knight to block. Then he would keep this pin until they push pawns to attack the bishop. But Sultan Khan almost never trade bishops for the knight. And whenever he sees an equal trade that would damage their pawn structure, he is not going to miss that. Now you don't have to play exactly like this. If you think trading the bishop for the knight to damage the pawn structure would give you a good position, go for it. Clearing up diagonals to snipe the king side. Sultan Khan loves bishop activities. It has to be his favorite piece. He always tries to place his bishop like this and keep the pressure on pawns. And it always happened to be a main attacking piece. But yes, his opponent not gonna let him do that. But look closely, this is a weakness. He knew that they have to create a weakness to block the bishop. Then he gets his pieces ready for the attack. When the right time comes, he attacked the weakness. So he would push pawns to open up the diagonal. But only after creating a promised attack. When this diagonal clears up, it's all over. He tries to keep the king in the middle. He doesn't like castling. He finds lots of advantages keeping the king in the middle. King behind this pawn wall is super safe. Look closely. His bishop is putting pressure on their king. But their bishops can't really put any pressure. Even if they do, it's really easy to defend. The king is so flexible in the middle. Extremely hard to target the king. The second thing is, you can create an attack from any side of the board. Doesn't matter where they castle. But remember, this is only possible if you have a strong pawn structure in the middle of the board. Now let's see how exactly Sultan Khan used all of these to destroy everyone. This is going to change the way you look at chess. The first game I'm going to show you was played against James Frank Marshall, one of the most genius attackers of all time in chess. He knows what Sultan Khan is. He knows all the strategies of him I taught you earlier. And he has a plan to beat Sultan Khan's all strategies. This is going to be an epic clash. Game starts with e4, e5. d4 pawn takes and queen takes. Mir Sultan Khan doesn't follow any book moves as usual. Frank Marshall took his d-pawn because he knows Sultan Khan likes to build that pawn structure in the middle. Knight c6, queen moves back. And they just develop pieces normally. Then Frank Marshall played d5, punishing white for not playing and opening that fight for the center. Takes, takes, takes. So clearly Sultan Khan not going to have the stone wall this time. Frank Marshall did this on purpose to take him out of the comfort zone. Knight e2, bishop g4, knight f4 attacking the queen. Queen goes back. Now try to think, why did Frank Marshall play bishop g4? Because he saw Sultan Khan is going to play knight f4 attacking the queen. So when the knight moves, this bishop is preventing white from castling long. If you block with the pawn, that's going to create a big weakness in the position. This is why you need to develop and castle quickly. Now Frank Marshall is punishing for not doing that. He is taking the full advantage of Sultan Khan's bad opening. So here, Frank Marshall is kind of forcing Sultan Khan to trade bishops like this. If you wonder why he wants to trade bishops, when black castles this side, this bishop is able to attack these two weak pawns. And this is an open position. It's hard to stop this bishop from lasering the king side. And Frank Marshall knows Sultan Khan's love affair with bishops. So that's why bishop g4 was played. But you already know he isn't going to trade bishops. Mir Sultan Khan surprised him with f3, creating this big weakness. And Frank Marshall gets absolutely pissed off. He feels so disrespected. This man doesn't follow any chess principles. He thinks he can beat him playing like a mad lad. So Frank Marshall decides to go all in. He plays a very silent move. Looks like it make no sense. But actually it's the only brilliant move in this position. I'll give you 10 seconds. Try to find the brilliant move for black. The move is long castle. If you've played long castle in this position, they would think you are an idiot. But when Frank Marshall played it, Sultan Khan knew that death is on the way. If you take the bishop, black plays bishop h4 check. You can't block with the pawn because rook e8 wins the queen. So king has to move. Rook e8 anyway. If you try to trade queens, it get even worse. Queen g4 check, discover attack on the queen. If you block with the bishop counter attacking the black queen, black sacrifice the rook. If you take with the queen, black gets a free knight. If you try to fork the queen and bishop, black sacrifice the second rook. Queen has to take and you are going to lose your rooks. So that's why Mir Sultan Khan can't take this bishop. Instead he plays long castle, finally getting the king out of danger. And Frank Marshall plays rook e8 and says, I'm gonna beat you being down a bishop. Sultan Khan takes the bishop. Frank Marshall plays bishop b4, attacking this bishop one more time. And also it's a discover check on the queen. This queen is guarding this bishop. If it moves away, the game is over. But there's only one move that can save the game, and that is queen f2. Sultan Khan finds it. Queens still guard the bishop. Also, queen guards the back rank and the knight at the same time. But Frank Marshall knew he would find this move, which is why he prepared bishop c5 attacking the queen. If you take the bishop, it's a forced mate. So once again, only one move can save the game. That move is queen f3 guarding the back rank. Since this bishop doesn't attack this anymore, queen doesn't have to guard it. But the attack doesn't end here. Frank Marshall knew he would find that move too. That's why he prepared rook e3 attacking the queen. If you take the rook, bishop takes back with a check. The king moves, it's mate in 2. The queen takes the bishop, it's mate in 1. So what is white gonna do? Well, again, there's one move that can save the game, and this is the only move Frank Marshall missed. But you know Mir Sultan Khan doesn't miss. The move is queen d5. We are blocking this file so they don't have any checkmates. If black decides to trade queens because he can win the knight, white can play bishop c4 attacking the both rooks. By the way, white can't take this rook because bishop takes back with a check and you have to block with the rook, otherwise it's mate. But now white can take this because now the rooks are connected. So in the game, Frank Marshall played queen e7 guarding everything. Queen f5 check. King moves, knight d3 and black pieces are hanging. Takes. Frank Marshall tries his best to create something, but there's nothing. In this position, he plays queen e6 and resigned. So that's how Sultan Khan survived the legendary attack of Frank Marshall. This game was played against the former world champion Capablanca, one of the greatest players in the history. In this game, Mir Sultan Khan played the same opening he plays every time. And Capablanca is playing Queen's Indian defense. Just look how Sultan Khan used his pieces in this game. So here he plays a 3 to stop bishop b4, which is not a common move at that time. This shows that his thinking of chess is completely different from others. d5, takes, and as soon as black castles, Sultan Khan plays bishop d3, putting pressure on this weak pawn. He loves bishop activities. Black plays knight e4, attacking this bishop 2 times. Most players would trade bishops like this here because if you don't, this bishop is not doing anything important and it's kind of useless. But Sultan Khan keeps the bishop. Why? Because he loves bishops. Knight d7 and queen c2. He is trying to clear out this diagonal. So black is pretty much forced to play f5. See? That's how he create weaknesses. Then Sultan Khan plays knight b5, attacking this pawn. So black offers a bishop trade and Sultan Khan takes with the knight. He really wants to keep this bishop. Now Capablanca has an open diagonal close to the white king, which is why he gave away his bishop. So castling would be really good for white. But why do that when you can disrespect one of the most feared world chess champions in the history by playing h4? Only this man can play like this against Capablanca. Rook c8 and queen b3, putting pressure on this pawn. Just in case if h4 isn't gangster enough, here's g4, guarded by the bishop, and g5 attacking the knight. Knight undevelops. Here he can takes the pawn with a check, but he plays bishop g4 attacking the rook. And Capablanca plays rook c1 check. King moves, rook c2 check, and Sultan Khan sacrifice his queen for 2 rooks, because this bishop is stuck. The knight is stuck, and black has lots of weaknesses. This is what Sultan Khan does. He destroys the pawn structure of his opponent, and then he puts pressure on them. So they have to defend that weakness forever. Capablanca gives a check. King moves. Queen comes in, but actually it's useless. Queen can't fight alone. Sultan Khan tries to trap the queen, but the queen gets out. Then he slowly improves the position while keep putting pressure on this weakness. That knight has to guard it forever. None of this would be possible if Sultan Khan had traded this bishop. Queen can't take this because white can play bishop s6 attacking the bishop and the queen at the same time. Then he slowly pushes his pawns forward because he knows black can't do anything. So no need to rush. Suddenly black has 3 weak pawns now. Capablanca tries his best to create something. But once again you can't take this because it would give white a passed pawn and nothing can stop it from queening. So few moves after Sultan Khan gets his rook to the 7th rank. And he is going to make a queen. Black can't stop it. So Capablanca resigned after rook b8. Don't think Capablanca had a chance because he had a queen. This was Sultan Khan destroying Capablanca, sacrificing the queen, pushing pawns on the king side. This was a man playing with his grandchild. If you are still watching, you are lucky, because this game is a great example of Sultan Khan's chess style. All of his strategies works perfectly in this game. He starts with d4, knight f3 as usual, and develop pieces normally like every time. Doesn't really tries to fight for the center. Then he plays f4. The stone wall structure. He is always going to create a strong pawn structure. Black castles. Looks like it's not the right move, because we know how much Sultan Khan loves bishops. But then he plays f5, thinking he is blocking the bishop. But we know this is exactly what Sultan Khan wanted. Then Sultan Khan plays knight f3, and black brings back his knight to stop this checkmate. Bishop d2, developing move, and black offers a bishop trade, which is a good move, because this is going to be really powerful. Sultan Khan plays rook g1. Of course, he isn't going to castle. He is trying to play g4 to open up this file. Black trades bishops and Sultan Khan takes back with the pawn. Now he controls this square so knight can't get in. And also he gets an open file. Then he plays king e2. He doesn't need to castle. King is safe. Black plays c5 trying to break this pawn wall and open up the white king. But this is a huge mistake. Sultan Khan uses this as an opportunity to develop his bishop. Black brings his knight forward, putting pressure on this pawn. Looks like black has something. But Sultan Khan plays g4 to open up the file for the rook. It's clear. This is the Sultan Khan's plan. He keeps a strong pawn structure to keep the position strong. Then he pushes pawns on the king side to open up the files and create an attack. And he is trying to clear out this diagonal and activate the bishop. Black's attack is too slow, so they have to play defense. Black starts trading some attacking pieces, but it's already over. After those trades, this diagonal has been cleared out. Now there's no way to stop the attack. That's why black resigned after rook g1. Black had to trade this bishop. That's where they lost. And look at these pawn structure. The king is completely safe. So this is how Sultan Khan destroyed everyone in the British Chess Championship. I hope this video has changed the way you look at chess. Try to focus on a plan like this. You will slowly improve your skills. If you want to watch more important things about chess, watch this video. I'll see you there.